Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala nabina wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Continuing the explanation of Shurut Salah wa Arkanuha wa Wajibatuha by Saleh al Usaymee, and we mentioned that there were 6 faraid regarding wudu, and we mentioned 3 of them in the previous lesson. So we'll take the next 3 in this lesson. So Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say, وَرَابِئُهَا, and it's 4th. Then he quotes Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahaab rahimahullahu ta'ala, غَسْلُ الرِّجْلَيْنِ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, washing the 2 feet to the ankles. And Saleh al Usaymee explaining that says, أي ماء الكعبين فيدخلان في غسل القدم, meaning including the ankles, and they come into the definition of washing the foot. والقعب هو العظم الناتي في آخر القدم. And then basically he goes on to tell us what the ankle is, which is the bone that sticks out at the end of the foot. وغسل القدمين هو فردهما إن لم يغطيا بكف أو جورب. Then he says, washing the 2 feet, they are fard as long as the 2 feet are not covered by leather socks or cotton socks. Jawrab, which is socks, and kufin is leather socks. فإذا ستر كان فردهما المس عليهما بشروطه المذكورة مشهورة عند الفقهاء. However, if they are covered, then it is obligatory to wipe on them with its known famous conditions. Yeah. So just this is me talking now. Either the fard is to wash the 2 feet, or either it is to wipe over the 2 feet. And if they are covered and they meet the conditions of wiping over them, then obviously wiping over them is preferred rather than taking socks off and washing them. Inshallah, maybe we'll find a book on wiping of the socks, so we can all learn the rulings regarding that. It's very simple. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, going on to explain what Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say, فَقَوْلِ الْفُقَهَاءِ فِي ذِكْرِ فُرُودِ الْوُضُوءِ. So the saying of the scholars of fiqh regarding in mentioning the furud of wudu, وَغَسْلُ الرِّجَلِ أي بِإِتِبَالِ الْأَشْهَرِ الشَّائِي. And when they talk about washing of the feet, yeah, the reason why they mention washing of the feet and they don't say washing of the feet or wiping of the feet, because obviously what's prevalent and famous is washing of the feet. That's what's widespread, known amongst the people. So that's why they always mention that. وهو كونهما غير مغطتين بكف ولا جورب. And obviously most of the time you're not going to have them covered with leather socks or cotton socks or normal socks, جورب. فإذا غطيتا صار فردهما المس. So when they're covered, that's when the fard of them becomes mas, wiping over them, providing the conditions are met, obviously. So that's one of the reasons why washing of the feet is mentioned. And then he goes on to mention the 5th condition of wudu, وَخَامِسُهَا التَّرْتِيب, yeah, which is doing it in order. And هو تتابع أفعال الوضوء المتقدمة وفق صفته الشرعية, which is that you do the actions of wudu according to its characteristics in the Sharia. ومحله بين الأعضاء الأربعة, and its place is between the four body parts. الوجه, the face, ثم اليدين, then the hands, ثم الرأس, then the head, ثم القدمين, then the 2 feet. أما الترتيب ميام عدو على مياسره فسنة. Then he talks about, as for the arranging of doing the right body part over the left body part, then it's a sunnah. وذلك في اليدين والقدمين, and he mentions, and that is in the hands, the 2 hands and the 2 feet. فيسن تقديم اليمنى على اليسرى, so it's the sunnah to do the right over the left, في اليد والقدم, in the hands and the feet. وأما الترتيب بين الأعضاء الأربعة متقدمة فإنه فرض من فروض الوضوء. As for the arrangement amongst the 4 body parts that were mentioned previously, then this is a fard from the furud of wudu. فإذا غسل المتوضئ يده اليسرى, so when the person in wudu washes his left hand, قبل يده اليمنى, then before he washes his right hand, لم يكن ذلك قادحا في الترتيب, then this will not affect his arrangement, because remember, doing things in arrangement is a fard of wudu. فإن مسح رأسه قبل غسل يديه إلى المرفقين, so if he wipes his head before he washes his 2 hands to the ankles, كان ذلك مبتلا لترتيب, then obviously that will make his ترتيب باطل. فالترتيب فرض بين الأعضاء الأربعة, so ترتيب, doing it in order, is a fard amongst the 4 body parts, التي هي أركان الوضوء, which are the pillars of wudu. وأما بين الأفراد العضو الواحد, as for the individual body parts, فإنه يسن تقديم اليمنى على اليسرى, then is a sunnah to do the right first before the left. وذلك في اليد والقدم, and that is in the hand and the feet. وسادسها الموالاة, and the 6th fard of wudu is al-muwalah, to do things continuously. وهي إتباع المتوضئ الفعل إلى آخر وضوئه من غير تراخ بين أبعاده ولا فصل بما ليس منه. So basically it is the person doing wudu following up each action after the other until the end of wudu without delaying them between the body parts, and no separating them from that which is not from it. فيتبع المتوضئ فرض الوضوء بسابقه, so the person doing wudu soon as he's finished one part, he goes on to the part. ولا يؤخر عضوا أما قبله, and does not delay one part from what that was which was before it. ولا يدخل في الوضوء ما ليس منه, and does not enter in his wudu what is not from it. وضابطها في الأصح والعرف, and to understand this point in the most correct way, you should look at the custom. فإليه حكم في تقدير مدة الفصل, for in it you will find the ruling regarding the estimation of the separation time. والأفعال مخالطة للوضوء من غير أفعاله, so the actions of mixing for the wudu which are not from it. فمتى حكم عرفا بأن الفصل طويل, so when does the custom judge that the gap is too long. وأن الفعل الواقع بين أفعال الوضوء مكل بالموالاة حكم به, or the action that has come between the actions of wudu affects the continuation of the ruling, or affects the continuation, then is judged as so. وإن لم يكن كذلك قادحا من جهة العرف, so if it does not affect it from the aspect of custom, so So I'll just repeat that last bit again. So I'll repeat that bit again. The aspect of understanding regarding continuation, doing wudu one after the other, the aspect of understanding it, or the point is that you look at the custom. So in it is a ruling regarding the estimation of the time of the gap. So the actions are mixed in the wudu, that are not from it. Then we look at the custom. So the custom judges it as being a long gap, or that the actual action between the actions of wuzu affects the continuation of it, then it's judged as so. And if it does not affect it, the aspect of custom, then it does not affect the continuation of wuzu. Okay. Then Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say, ثم ذكر المصنف آية الوضوء دالة على فروض الأربع من في منطوقها واتبعه بدليل الترتيب وهو حديث ابدأوا بما عبد الله به المخرج عند النساء من حديث جابر أنه وشاذ بلفظه الأمر والمحفوظ رواية مسلم له باللفظ الخبر أبدأوا بما بدأ الله به. Then Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say that the author mentioned the ayah of wudu to show the four faraid of wudu which are mentioned in the ayah, and then he followed it by showing the proof of arrangement or doing in order, and that is the hadith ibda'u bima badallahu bi, begin with what Allah began with, which Nasai brought the hadith from the hadith of Jabir, and it is hadith shadh bil lafz al amr. Basically the hadith in the wording is not authentic because it is shadh, meaning that it has been contradicted by more trustworthy narrators. Therefore we take the more trustworthy or the more precise narrators rather. So we take their wording of the hadith, which is what is preserved in Sahih Muslim, which is not by way of command, because the one in Nisa is ibda'u, i.e. begin, but by way of informing, where the Prophet ﷺ said, Abda'u bima badallahu bi, I begin with what Allah began with, rather than saying begin with what Allah began with. So the correct wording of the hadith is Abda'u bima badallahu bi. Then Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say, وَدَلِيلُ تَرْتِيبُ الَّذِي يَنْبَغِي تَأْوِيلُ عَلَيْهِ هُوَ انْتِظَامُ سِيَاقِ الْآيَةِ فِي إِدْخَالِ مَنْسُوبٍ بَيْنَ الْمَقْصُولَاتِ. And the proof for doing it in order is the fact that the structure of the ayah and its context is that it enters the wiping between the washing. For udkhila ruts, so it enters the wiping of the head, وَهُوَ مَمْسُوهٍ, and obviously that's why it wiped amongst what's washed, بَيْنَ الْمَغْسُولَاتِ وَهِيَ بَقِيَّةُ الْأَعْدَى وَلَوْ لَمْ يَكُنْ تَرْتِيبٌ مُرَادًا لَقْتَضَتْ الْبَلَاغَةُ تَأْخِيرُهُ. And they are the rest of the body parts, and if arrangement wasn't something that was intended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by doing it in order, then the bilagha of the Arabic language, or bilagha of the Quran, bilagha of the Quran, the eloquence of the Quran would have necessitated that you put the wiping of the head at the end. So it shows that because it's been put within the washing, that it is actually one of the fard of wudu, which is to do in order. فإن الأعرى في كلامه تضم النذير إلى نذيره ولا تفرد عنه. And as then Salih goes on to say, because the Arabs in the speech, they join what is similar to what is similar, ولا تفرده, and they do not singular it, from or separated from it. ولا تدخل بين النظر شيء خارج عنه, and they do not put amongst what is similar anything that is not from it. فإذا أدخل شيء بين النظائر متقارنة, so when something is put that is different from what is similar, فالعدول عن ذلك لنقته مقصودة, then obviously there's a reason for that. فإذا كان هذا ملحوظا إن العرب في كلام البليغ الحكيم, so this is something that is felt amongst the Arabs in their eloquent speech. فهو أولى في كلام العلي العليم, then is more befitting in the speech of the Most High and the all-knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فلما أدخل الممسو بين المغسولات, so when the wiping has been entered amongst the washing, علم أن الإدخال على هذا النسخ لغاية مراده وهو ترتيب. So when the wiping has been entered amongst the washing, it is known that the entering of this has a intention, and that is to do in arrangement. كما سر بهذا الوجه اللطيف أبو Abdullah ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, as was mentioned this subtle point by Abu Abdullah ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, the great scholar of Islam. وَلَمْ يَتَوَدَّنَ مِثْلًا إِلَّا مُرَتَّبًا, and the Prophet ﷺ did not make wudu except in order. وَفِعْلُهُ مُبَيَّنْ لِلْأَمْرِ الْمُجْمَلِ الْوَارِدِ فِي الْقُرْآنِ فَيَكُونُ التَّرْتِيبُ فَرْضًا, and his actions explain the general commands that are mentioned in the Quran. So this shows that doing it in order is fard. And then the last part of this lesson, Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say, ثم ختم بدليل الموالاة وهو حديث صاحب اللمة أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه لما رأى رجلا في قدمه لمعة قدر الدرهم مثل الماء فأمره بالإعادة. Then he ended the evidence of basically this regarding doing things in one after the other. The hadith of the companion of Lum'ah from the Prophet ﷺ, that when the Prophet ﷺ saw a man in his foot there was a gap the size of a dirham that the water had not reached, he commanded him to do wudu again. والحديث أخرجه أبو داود وقال أحمد إسناده جيد, and the hadith is in Sunan Abi Dawud, and Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, said isnad is sahih. واللمع اسم للموضوع الذي لم يصبه الماء من قدمه, and lum'a is the name of the place which the water did not reach from the Sahabis radiallahu anhu's foot. وفي آية الوضوء ما يدل على الموالاة فهي تتضمن الأمر في قوله, and in the actual ayah of wudu is an indication of doing things one after the other without leaving long gaps, for it is incorporated in the command فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, then wash your faces and your hands to the elbows, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, and wipe your heads, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, and your feet to the ankles. وَالْأَمْرُ الْمُقْتَدٍ لِلْفَوْرِيَّةِ, and then Saleh al Usaymee goes on to say that the commands of Allah, they necessitate doing it as quickly as possible. في أصح القولين الأصولين, in the most correct opinion of the scholars of usul. ولا تتحقق الفورية إلا بالموالاة, and you cannot actualize doing the commands quickly or straight away except by doing them one after the other. فلو أوقع الفعل, so if a person delayed his action على غير موالاة, while not doing them one after the other, لم يكن مأمور به مبادرا, then he would not be doing what's been commanded straight away. إليه مفعولا مبادرا إليه مفعولا على وجه الفور, then he'll not be doing things straight away. فظهر من هذا ودلالة الآية الموالاة, so it's apparent from this aspect that the indication of the ayah is to do things one after the other. So obviously this is me talking now, so the body parts don't get dry as much as possible. I mean, so you should do it quickly. Obviously, if it's really hot weather and you're in the weather, then your body part is going to get dry, but then you've got an excuse, obviously, because the weather is not a normal weather, so to speak. But that's just me adding that bit on, because I don't want you guys to get confused. So astaghfirullah, I really don't like adding my own bits on there. So where were we then? أمرا والأمر يفيد الفورية وإذا وجدت الفورية في امتثال الأمر. So if it is اقترن بالمعلات, so if it means that doing something straight away in acting upon the commands is joined with doing them one after the other, فإن تخلفت الفورية, so if you don't do it straight away, فإن المعلاة غير موجودة أصلا, فصار آية الوضوء دالة على فروضها منطوقا ومفهوما. So then he goes on to say, so in the ayah obviously is found that you should do it straight away in acting upon the commands. So this obviously is something that also indicates regarding doing things one after the other, because if you don't do it straight away, then obviously you won't be doing it one after the other. Yeah. So the ayah, it shows regarding the furud or the obligatory nature of doing things one after the other straight away, in terms of the actual wording of the ayah and what's understood from the ayah. Mantukan wa mafhuman. فَمَا الدَّلَالَةُ مَنْتُوكِهَا فَعَلَى الْفُرُودِ الْأَرْبَعَةِ. So as for the wording of the ayah, then is obviously the 4 fara'id of wudu. الأول غسل الوجه, which is the first is washing the face, واليدين إلى المرافق, and washing hands to the elbows, ومسح الرأس, and wiping of the head, and وغسل القدمين إلى الكعبين, and washing of the feet to the ankles. وأما دلالة مفهومها, and as for the understanding of the ayah, فعلى الترتيب والمعارضة من الوجهين متقدم ذكرهما, and for the understanding of the ayah, then this is obviously proven from or understood from the arrangement of the ayah. Then as for the understanding of the ayah, then obviously the fact that it's done in order and it's command and one after the other, well, basically from what's been previously mentioned. So سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.